guys, and welcome to this army showcase of Harry's Admech. Harry's Admech is from the Forge World of Mars, and his knights are from House Crast. He's only got 3 knights and 3 of the Forge World knights, and he's got a whole range of the Admech. I think he's got next to one of everything apart from the Electro-priests. I played against the Admech. I only played against the Dunecrawlers and Cawl, but I've been hailed enough of the Admech to know that they're not to be trifled with. And then I have gone through all their rules, and they're definitely a powerful army. I definitely think they probably could be one of the strongest out there if you can synergize them well. And it's nice to see it's not something like spam, but if you can synergize the army, then it can work. So what makes Admech different from other armies is they have Canticles of the Omnissiah, which comes from their Tech-Priests, and Cawl over there, the named one, big fatty over there who's made these Primaris Marines. I don't like Cawl because he's amazing, but we'll get to that. I don't like it. But the Canticles are pretty cool. They've lost the sort of buffing abilities on the Skitarii, which would be added to the Weapon Skill and Bliss skill, but having it all as one army is just really nice. So now people can just, if they just want to bring some robots with some really thin skittering infiltrators, or they just want to bring some Dunecrawlers walking around with these, servitors, driving around on their tracks, and they can, and it's not restrictive that way. I think one of the things that we might see in their codex is the knights getting Adeptus Mechanicus in their keywords, because right now they don't. So the Tech-Priests in Cawl, for example, can't repair them, and they also don't get any benefits from the Canticles, and I think it'll be pretty nice to see them that way. And hopefully, and this might be a stretch, you might see some like Admech specific weapons, maybe some Volkite coming back, because I know how much that everyone can't pronounce the Felgrip right, so that's awesome. Biggest, scariest unit out of this entire army is not even the Knights. It's not even the Dunecrawlers or the Castellans or even the Servitors, because everyone absolutely was terrified of Grav back in the day. It is Cawl. And I have to admit, Harry has done a brilliant job of painting Cawl. And probably the biggest thing that stands out on this Admech is their bases, which are also pretty cool. So why don't we take a closer look at the main HQ of the Admech. So here's Cawl and the Tech-Priest. Cawl has a lot of odds and ends and trinkets attached to his model. He's got some keys. He's even got a cane and a book there. Really makes this model stick to his fluff and adds a lot of character to him. The bases are made with like ruins from the DW ruins kits that you can get for the senior, which is pretty awesome. And he's just straight out the box. I think Harry painted him in 3 different segments, and I don't blame him because he's so intricate that it's just impossible to paint him as one. And the Tech-Priest is there as well. The Tech-Priest is a lot easier, a hell of a lot smaller. Harry sort of elevated Cawl on sort of this like sort of hill type thing with the ruins, so he's even bigger than he is before, and he's chunkier, and sort of reminds me of Gloria the Hippo from Madagascar. So what is good about Cawl and what is good about the Tech-Priest, and why would you take Cawl over the Tech-Priest? The Tech-Priest is near enough about half the points of Cawl, and has a lot less rules as well. If you have a big army, definitely take them both. If you bring in a very small point army, it's definitely better to bring Cawl and fit him in there somewhere, because he's such a center point of the Admech and such a powerful unit for the Admech. However, you do have to be Mars, so you need to keep that in mind. So when the Codex comes around, keep that in mind, because there may be really good benefits of being another Forge World, like Ryza, for example, or Metallica, for example. So it just think that through. But right now, there's no reason to not be Mars. There's no reason for that. So bring Cawl, use him while you can. Maybe he'll go out of date. Maybe he'll keel over and kick the bucket when the Codex comes. We don't know. But they do have the Canticles of the Omnissiah, which Cawl can manipulate. These Canticles are alright. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, like Shroud's armies. They get the bonus for the armor sabers if they were in cover. Units are already in cover are not affected, so you usually have to be in cover for that, And for example, the Dunecrawlers and likes of the Bastaris and the Castellan robots, because they're like monsters and vehicles, they have to be 50% obscured. So getting the bonus for them and don't need to be 50% obscured is really good and quite a powerful way of making your army durable. There is other ones that are alright and good at the same time, but you don't really want to focus your army on it because they're not groundbreaking or game changing. The next thing that makes Cawl better than the Tech-Priest is that Cawl heals himself and somebody else. If you take the Tech-Priest can heal somebody else but not the same one that Cawl healed. So you've got this good, if you've taken both, you've got this good area bubble of healing. Talking about bubbles, Cawl has a bubble of reroll all failed hits in the shooting phase. The Tech-Priest has all failed ones in the shooting phase, you get a reroll. So having both, you can spread this sort of bubble. Obviously the Tech-Priest isn't as good as Cawl's, but you get in a bigger bubble so you don't have to castle up as much and you get better control of the table. And of course, the big deal is Cawl looks absolutely better, like 10 times better than the Tech-Priest. He has a gun, which I'm probably going to call the Star Killer because it is gruesome. It's very short range. It's like a short range melter, but it's very gruesome. Very good. So the Data Smith and the Castellans are definitely better in this edition, I have to admit. One of the interesting things is, if you've been watching me in the battle reports, I tend to bring a brigade with my Tyranids. So I like the brigade because you get a lot of command points in it. And something really interesting is the Castellans and the Data Smith are not all one unit anymore. The Data Smith's an elite choice, and the Castellans are a heavy support choice. So in case you want to run an army, but you want to fill up on Castellans and the Data Smith, you don't have to worry about only having 3 heavy supports. It does make something like the Spearhead detachment a little bit weird because you can get so many Castellan robots in, but not as many of the Data Smiths unless you went for a Vanguard at the same time. So definitely interesting in that point. The Data Smith has a Power Fist and a Gamma Pistol. The Gamma Pistol is essentially like a Plasma Pistol, but it's a Strength 6 Plasma Pistol that does 2 damage. Doesn't have an overcharge thing, and you get a reroll field wounds against a vehicle. So it's kind of like a better Plasma Pistol, to be honest. And interesting, it's like a Gamma weapon. It would be pretty cool to see some AdMech units in the future with Gamma weapons, What can that do for the AdMech? And it's very unique, we see this Plasma and this sort of haywire stuff in the Grav, which is very themed with Imperium armies. This Gamma and Eradication Array and Neutron stuff sounds like something that an AdMech army should have. And I mean, it would be awesome to see like a giant Gamma cannon on a knight, because that would be pretty cool. But Castellan robots are fantastic. They have 9 shots apiece if you go Phosphor, and I have to admit that's probably the best way to go. You can either go the sort of Flamer dual fist route, or you could just have the 2 hand Phosphors and the flame on the back, or you can have the Phosphor on the back and the 2 power fists, whatever you like. But definitely have to admit the best way to run them is the full Phosphor loadout. Give them 9 shots of Castellan, that's 18 shots a unit, which is devastating, especially if you have the Data Smith there. The Data Smith is there to allow them to change their protocols. They come with a base protocol of +1 to their save and +1 to their invul, so they have now got a 2-up save and a 4-up invul, and if you roll a 6 on that invul, the shots fired at them gets fired right back, throwing a mortal wound right back at the unit. The Data Smith can change them, and he does this on a 2+, and if he changes them, he can have the same protocol that they already have, or you can change them to not shoot and fight twice in the fight phase, which is good for like the Power Fist one, for example. Or you can have them not move or charge and have them fire twice in the shooting phase. So suddenly that 18 shots is doubled. And just imagine that's just one squad. So later on you'll see what we'll be working on for the AdMech, and you'll see that we've got like 3 units of 2 for the AdMech, and a couple more Data Smiths as well. And put them near Cawl, and you get to reroll all those 18 per Castellan robot hits. Rerolling them all to hit is just insane. It's also reminiscent of the old formation, which was like a one big squad of like Tech-Priests and Cawl and Castellans and Datasmiths, and the Tech-Priests could like take control of one of the Castellans and split fire, but now that everything can split fire and they're all separate units, this is probably even better than the formation ever was. Only thing we don't have is the Mask, which was a relic which could instantly turn the protocols because they had a way to turn. So I don't know whether there'll be a relic coming in their codex that'll give you a reroll or a different type of buff. You know, there could be a lot of stuff brought into this, but definitely something that could be a big bubble, big castle is, you know, the Tech-Priest mixed with the Castellan robots mixed with the Datasmiths. Another big thing to add to your castle is Dunecrawlers. So let's check them out. So the Dunecrawlers are probably one of the most powerful units that come out of the Skitarii. These are fantastic. The two weapons that are probably the best ones, the other two aren't great. The Icarus Array is fantastic. The Neutron Laser is just sick. But the Twin Heavy Phosphor Blaster and the Eradication Beamer is probably not good. But I'm assuming they're probably like cheaper than the other ones. So if you just really want to put your Dunecrawler in for cheap C's, you can get it in. But the one that Harry's used against me is the Neutron Laser. We have two of them which are stuck with the Neutron Laser. The third one is fully magnetized, so we can use it any one we want. So maybe one day you'll see like two Neutron Lasers in the Icarus Array. But the best thing about the Icarus Array, which you just haven't seen yet on the channel, is that it put out loads of shots, and it's 3 different loadout weapons, just like last time, that can fire all the time. And they get +1 to their ballista skill against units that can fly. So when you're looking at like Jump Marines, for example, or, you know, Ravagers, or even Flyers themselves, they'll be hitting on 2s if they haven't been damaged. Even Tau Crisis Suits, or a Riptide, for example, they'll be hitting them, and they could outshoot Tau, no doubt. I have no doubt in my entire body, in my entire hive mind, that these guys can outshoot Tau as of right now. The best thing about them is that the Neutron Laser is powerful. It looks at a predator with loads of las cannons and goes, mate, hold my beer, I can do much better than that. You put them near Cawl, and they're like that older brother that managed to get a higher education and better, you know, qualifications than you, and just looked at you and went, you know, I'm better, you know, and he was like the brother from Step Brothers. He was like, look at these rock hard abs, and, you know, and things like that. He's like, punch me, because it's not going to hurt, because Cawl and the Tech-Priest is here, healing them up, man, and they got so many wounds, and a 5-up flipping invul that rerolls ones when other Dunecrawlers are nearby. It is an insane unit that is heavy D3, strength 10, -4, D6 damage. If they roll a 1 or a 2, it counts as a 3. So a minimum 3 damage weapon at strength 10 -4 that gets to reroll its hits when you have a Cawl nearby. Call's going to heal one. If you've got a Tech-Priest nearby, he's going to heal one. And then, you know, you've got your Castellans there. You just got this huge fire base, this castle that might as well be called Fort Knox. That is just never going to fall because it's just going to power so much firepower that you might as well be the planet of Monka when it just got burnt to living crap at the end of the campaign. These guys are amazing. Sad thing is, they lost the Cognis Manipulator. They give them that little bit edge in combat, which I think is probably a good side of it, so that they might fail in combat rather than have something that might help them succeed. One thing that's pretty interesting is that they can take smoke launchers for free, but why would you choose not to shoot? Interesting thing is you can retreat and use the smoke launchers, so I guess that's sort of the point of it, but the smoke launchers are just going to give you an extra bit to your save, but you've got your invul there, so it's a bit weird in terms of then. But on top of the neutron lasers, you get a Cognis Stubber with a neutron laser, and I think you can buy one as well, so I think they get 2 Cognis Stubbers per dude, so they're even putting out these little shots that can deal with like a horde army as well. These guys are insane, must grab in an army. If you look at the stock collecting box, you're practically buying an Onega and getting Rangers and a Tech-Priest anyway, so definitely a great buy. And while on the top of Rangers, which could be even Vanguard, why not have a look at the infantry side of the Admech army? So the Rangers and the Vanguard, we've got the Rangers over here, the Vanguard right there. Rangers and Vanguard are very, very interesting. The kit that GW's made is really frustrating because you only get one of each weapon in, so you only get one plasma caliber, one arc rifle, and one of the transonic arquebus. I know people love to comment on how I pronounce things, so have at it. But you only get one on a kit, so it's very wise to get 3 of them. And you might as well get 3 boxes of the Start Collected and get your 3 Dunecrawlers. You get 3 squads of probably 2 squads of Rangers and a squad of Vanguard or something like that, And then you get 3 Tech-Priests, so you got your little bubble of healing and your bubble of reroll 1s, and then you got your Infantry there as well. Why do you say in 3s? Well, it's a bit weird when you show up with an anti-infantry, anti-tank, and character weapon all in the same squad, because then you're trying to be Deathwatch, and that's too mainstream right now. But something really interesting about the Rangers is their weapons are sort of like miniature snipers. So they've got like a 30-inch range weapon, and although they can't target our characters, which would be awesome if they could, and they'll probably be like snatched up and bought immediately, and people would fill them all the time. They do have a 6+ -1 to the weapon, so suddenly their weapons on a 6+ becomes better than a bolter, and has a bigger range than a bolter, which just as a thought is crazy. And for Vanguard and Rangers that have a 6+ invul as well, okay, that's starting to get onto a level where it's a bit, whoa. The Vanguard have something even better, as if that they're within 1 inch of an enemy. They are reduced by 1 on their toughness, apart from vehicles, which is their sort of radiation. It's called rad saturation, which again, I wish we start to see some of this radium stuff and gamma stuff come from the AdMech, so it makes them more personal rather than you start to see this plasma and these equivalent of las cannons. I want to see stuff very specific to the AdMech, not sort of a streamline of other types of things from other armies. Their weapons are probably the most diverse. Marines have got the most diverse weapons in the list, but when you look at something like a Tal Fire Warrior squad, they don't have special weapons in them. You have to go out and change them to Pathfinders or change them to a strike team just to change their weapons, which makes them really good. And the Plasma Culverin is the, hey look, I've got the new iPhone 6 to the iPhone 4 plasma gun. They are in every sense a plasma gun, but it's heavy D6. So although it's not rapid fire, and you're at -1 if you move with it, you are probably getting more shots. I just realised I read Plasma Culverin, which is on the destroyers. So I messed up there. They are actually the Plasma Caliber, and now I'm going to eat my words here because it's Assault 2. So, god damn it, Phil. But Assault 2 is actually better than the Plasma Gun. So, guess what? It's not the iPhone 6, it's the iPhone 5. You made a mistake, and actually, the Plasma Gun may be an iPhone 5, but this is the iPhone 5S. Because they are smart and I'm not. The Plasma Caliber, Assault 2, Strength 7, -3, 1 damage, 18-inch range. And if they overcharge, boom, 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 it becomes Strength 8, 2 damage, but on a 1 they're dead, which is sad. But they can run up and still shoot their weapons. Like, they can advance and still shoot their weapons and be a -1, but you can still fire them. So brilliant Plasma Gun, and quite honestly, having the Plasma on the Vanguard means they're getting closer for the -1. So Vanguard probably the better choice to put the Plasma Gun on them. The other ones is the Arc Rifle, and I'm making sure that it's the Arc Rifle, not the heavy one that's on the breeches, because I'm a Doyle. The Arc Rifle is 24 inches, Rapid Fire 1, Strength 6, -1, and when hitting a vehicle it has a damage of D3. We'll get into the arc weapons when we come to the breaches, because it's quite a difficult topic as whether or not should you take them, because the Onegas can put out a very hefty amount of damage in the multiple damage area of the army. But then you've got the sniper, and this is 1 out of 2 snipers that the AdMech have access to, and this is the Transuranic Arquebus, which is 60 inches, because they're compensating for something, and basically the characters are never going to get out of their range. Heavy 1, so moving them is going to get you the -1. The strength 7, -2, and D3 damage. And actually, just read it there, it cannot be fired at all if you moved in the movement phase. I'm guessing because it's such a long and heavy rifle that they have to set it up to fire it. It could target characters, and if you make it 6+, it's a mortal wounding addition. So classical sniper there, but sort of better because it's strength 7, -2, and D3 damage, and quite interesting because the Vindicator's weapon is strength 5. But obviously the Vindicator wounds everything on 2+ anyway. However, this sniper hasn't got the sort of against vehicles it's worse. So 4 up to wound a vehicle at -2 D3 damage. Sounds like this sniper is good for killing our characters and even targeting vehicles, or maybe even targeting multiple wound infantry, such as Terminators. Range is very diverse in terms of probably doing the ranges with the snipers, and probably doing the Vanguard with the plasma is the best route forward. Maybe putting the arcs there if you really seen your meta that there's a lot of multi-wound stuff going around. But first things first, I'd definitely suggest the rifles. Reason why you wouldn't put the sniper rifles on the Vanguard is the other rangers have a 30-inch weapon, whereas the Vanguard don't. The Vanguard have galvanic rifles, which are a lot shorter range. No, galvanic rifles is the Ranger, sorry. It's radium carbines, which they have, which is 18 inches range as opposed to the 30-inch range. Assault 3, strength 3, but every time you make a 6, it's 2 damage. So before, it used to be like Tesla, where it used to be it used to be kind of like Tesla, but not completely like Tesla. If you rolled a 6 to wound, it counts as 2 wounds instead of blah blah blah. But now it's 2 damage. So rather than making 2 saves, they're making 1. Arguably worse, but arguably better. So definitely good there. These little guys up front, these here, my favourite models out of the entirety of that mech is the Infiltrators, because the heads look like the old film Lost in Space from that robot who's like, Mr. Robinson, must protect Mr. Robinson, And I like them a lot. I like them with the tasers. I like the thought of this skinny little robot running around putting a taser in a marine and watching them going. I think it's pretty cool. Also love their pistols, which are just like 5-shot pistols. They're just walking up with these like hand Uzis and just going. I love it. I love everything about them. And they can get really close. And if you get too near them, because they stink, you're a little bit scared and you get -1 in your morale. Isn't as powerful as their aura from last edition, but still helpful nonetheless. So why do I think these tasers and these pistols are good? Well, I've already talked about the pistols, but the tasers are Tesla, essentially, in combat. Any 6s to hit is 3 attacks instead of 1. Why did I like this before? Because I played Tyranids with a Hive Tyrant with 12 shots, and I strongly realised that more dice forcing your opponent to roll more saves means that they're probably going to die quicker. It's, a sound theory. And I'm guessing with these guys, it's 3 attacks each on the guy, and then there's 4 attacks on the leader. So that's a lot of attacks already. And then if I get a lot of 6s, there's going to be even more attacks. So they are just brutal in my opinion and really powerful. Are they the best combat unit in this army? Is a big debate. The Ruststalkers are quite powerful, but are they better than the Infiltrators? Well, let's have a look at the Ruststalkers on the other side of the field, and we'll discuss whether or not they are better than the Infiltrators. So the Ruststalkers have 1 less attack than what it says in your index. The FAQ reduced their attacks, so that's a bit of a shame. But because these guys can dish out mortal wounds, I guess it was to stop people from doing that. But there's another argument about that with the Electro-priests, because the Electro-priests are probably, I think, cheaper and can dish it out the same sort of fashion, maybe even quicker. So these Ruststalkers come with their cord claws and their razors, and they can switch their cord claws and their razors for the blades. The leader keeps his cord claw and can swap his razors for the blades if he wants. The cord claws you can only make 1 attack with, when you're in combat, and it's on a 3+ to hit with a strength 4 weapon, it's a bit because now you're looking at them going for like Terminators or maybe even characters rather than something like a hero duel, because I did see 5 Ruststalkers take down a hero duel in 1 round of combat before because of the Cord Claws, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. But now I don't see that anymore. I see these guys as harassers, something that makes the people go, oh, they look scary, they could dish out mortal wounds, I'll target them instead, But if you roll 6 on your Cord Claw, it becomes D3 mortal wounds instead of the damage. If it was in addition, then we're really talking about these being the better ones. But the rest of the attacks, which will only be 2 attacks now per dude and 3 attacks for the leader, goes on the Razors, which is strength 4, no HP, 1 damage, and every 6 mortal wound. And if you switch it for the Blades, you're just getting a +1 strength to that. So, are they good? No. Don't think they're good at all. They've got a 6-up invul, but majority of the army has an invul. All the Rangers, Vanguard, and even the Destroyers and the Breachers have 6-up invuls as well. The Dunecrawlers have 5-up. The Castellans can have 5-up or even 4-up. The Cawl has a 5-up. They have invuls, so they will be getting saves unless you can put out some mortal wounds, which sometimes some of the units can stop that as well. Ruststalkers are not better than the Infiltrators in my opinion. The one thing is going to settle it is a mortal wound dish out better than a whole buttload of dice with no AP. If the mortal wound's better, the Ruststalkers will win. If the number of dice is better, the Infiltrators will win. We might have to go, I like the Ruststalkers, I like the Infiltrators, and then take a leaf out of Harry Hill's book and goes, there's only one way to find out. Fight! So maybe we have to show that off one day and see which one actually does better, or maybe you'll see it in battle reports. But the dudes behind them, if we just move this camera up like this, dudes behind them is the Breachers and Destroyers. These used to be troop choices for the AdMech, and so whenever someone brought Cult Mechanicus, these guys were always in there because they were troops. Still troops now. So a good mix of like Destroyers and some Rangers, maybe even a Vanguard in there. You'll get your troops to fill out your brigade detachment. Then you've got your elites with the Datasmith, your heavy support with your Dunecrawlers and Castellans, and your HQ with Cawl and Tech-Priest, and voila, you've got yourself your brigade. I'm assuming that that's a lot of points though, but as we've seen with some of the leaks with, well, not leaks, but reveals with the Space Marine Codex, we're starting to see that command points are going to be a lot more valuable going further into the releases of all these codexes. So starting to think about getting a large amount of command points now is the right way to go in my opinion. Luckily, I'm doing a brigade anyway, so all you guys can catch up with me, I'm fine with that. But, problem, I don't think the Breachers, Harry also agrees that the Breachers aren't anywhere near as good as the Destroyers. The Torsion Cannon is one shot, 24 inches, strength 8, -4, d6 damage. But when you're looking at your Dunecrawlers, which are doing that but 10 times better, that's not amazing. So the only other weapon they have is the Arc Rifle, which is 36 inches, 2 shots, heavy, but you don't have to suffer the -1 when you're moving with these guys. Strength 6, -2, d3 damage. Their ballistic skills 4 up as well, so remember that. And if it's against a vehicle, it becomes d6. So if you're going up against, for example, an Iron Hands army, you're expecting a lot of vehicles. If you're going up against something like a Mech Tau, for example, or even an Orc army that's bringing battle wagons and trucks, this might be helpful. But the d3 damage could be helpful for these Terminators and stuff, but we've seen the amount of shots the Castellans can put out, and I don't think these Breachers can really compete. Now their close combat weapons are decent, are kind of like the heavy hitter Power Fists and Dunhammers that the other units don't have, but you don't want your Breachers to get in combat, and when you can buy this box as a multi-plastic kit, the Destroyers are just so much better. The Destroyers can either go with the Grav Cannon, which is 30 inches, so already beating the torsion cannon and just failing towards the arc rifle in range. And it's heavy 5, obviously you're not suffering the penalty. It's strength 5, -3, 1 damage, but if it's against a unit with a save characteristic of 3 or more, then the damage becomes D3. So I'm looking at this graph, it's 15 shots per 3, all going at like a Terminator squad, or Marines for example, because that's like an army-wide 3-up save, so they're going to be doing an army-wide sort of D3 damage on their gravs, so that's insane. Top of that, they've got the Phosphor Blasters or the Flamers. My opinion, go with the Flamers. These guys, you don't want to get them anywhere near combat, but if they find themselves getting anywhere near to being charged, they've got these Flamers, which are 2d6, you discard the lowest when deciding how many shots you get, so they've got the more reliable Overwatch with their Flamers as well. And just in case you do get them close, you've got these Flamers that can automatically hit flyers, for example. So that's pretty damn cool. And then if you don't fancy the Grav, which seems definitely more infantry based, you got the Plasma. And this is what I was talking about before, I got the names mixed up. The Plasma, heavy d6. Strength 7, -3, 1 damage. It's sort of like a miniature version of the Exocrine. The Exocrine is 6 shots, strength 7, -3, 2 damage. And can get 2 loads of that if it stays still. These guys have a potential, getting an extra third of those shots for a little bit less damage, yeah. But getting that reroll from Cawl, for example, can make the Plasma be very useful. And you can even overcharge that to make it strength 8 and 2 damage. And because you're rerolling the 1s, you're probably going to scave the loser model. But if you roll that 1, you're losing a 3 wound model right there. And it's really, really devastating. So it's a huge risk, but a huge reward as well. And when you consider these two guys are the same kit, you start to think, yeah, I'm probably going to go with the Destroyers. And that's generally everything for the Admech. The one thing Harry's missing from his Admech army is Electro-priests. And so we'll take an overview of the army, look at the knights, and then we'll talk about the Electro-priests. Joke's on you! There's actually another unit at the end, Want to leave you in suspense. Want to show you more. Showing you the Dragoons. Now, out of these, because of course they're tasers, man. They're amazing tasers. And I love tasers. Sad thing is they lost 2 attacks from before. So they weren't 5 attacks, they're now 3 attacks. They still have the 6s become a whole buttload more of attacks, which is pretty cool and pretty helpful. The Dragoons are a lot more survivable. So the Ballistari, the gun ones, have 6-up invulns just the same, but the Dragoons have an Intense Cloud, which is -1 a hit when shooting them. So that's pretty awesome. The Taser Lance makes them strength 8, no AP, 2 damage, and a 6 is a 3 hits instead of 1. You only got 3 attacks each. Like before, it was like a really hard choice to pick between them because the Cognos version of the shooty ones was really helpful at taking down flyers, but with the sort of threat of not having a good anti-air taking down flyers is sort of gone now. So, but then the Dragoons have sort of lost something from themselves. So it's definitely the same sort of problem of which one's better, which one should I go for. But when I'm looking at my army of Admech, we talked about, this huge lot of point castle that's really powerful. And it's sort of down to, are we going to take some rangers with our Castellans, Destroyers and, Dunecrawlers, and are we going to take Vanguard, or are we going to take something that can get across the field faster? My opinion, take some Dragoons or take some Bastaris so they can spread out across the field and score yourself some objectives. They're not there to kill. That's the job of the castle. They're not there to, destroy or maim because they're not corn, They're there just to score the objectives. And, that can be helpful. They can put in a little bit of damage here and there, but they can also be a little bit of a distraction. Spread them out a little bit more in your deployment zone, and deploying them can, stop people from getting so close to your castle when they're deep striking in, or teleporting in, or whatever, and then maybe even get buying a little bit of Rangers or Vanguard to go out the front of that castle, so just in case that if anyone wants to bring their deep strikers in, they do have to get through them first. What would I pick? Well, in my opinion, I would take both. They're both good, they're both equally as strong and powerful as each other. But my personal choice would be the Dragoons because of their big, massive taser lances. They do have the other sniper in game, which is heavy 2, so you're hitting on 4s instead of 3s. It's strength 5, no AP, 1 damage, and you can pick out characters and a 6 hits a mortal wound. Honestly, it's not worth it because you can put that sniper on your Vanguard and they have a way better sniper. So, Dragoons, tasers. The Ballistari, should I go Las Cannon? Should I go Autocannon? Interesting thing is that they're heavy, so you're going to be hitting on 4s. However, if you advance with them, you can still fire them, but you subtract 2 instead of 1. So that's pretty cool, but they're going to be hitting on 6s if you advance them. Now, like I said, they're going there for getting into objectives, and the advance is only going to be an extra 6 inches. Well, up to 6 inches. So I would never advance, but it's nice to see the advances there. So that's pretty awesome. The laser cannon and autocannon is the same as normal autocannons and laser cannons. Probably go with the autocannon because it's 4 shots instead of 2. But having the extra laser cannons in there is pretty sweet. But like we said, the Dunecrawlers can put out the multiple damage. Just having those extra shots in there hitting on 4s is probably the best way to go. So the AdMech as a whole, let's have a look. So we now have the Knights. The Knights were an essential part of an AdMech force in 7th because of the giant convocation. The war convocation detachment means you need to at least bring 1 Knight. So when looking at AdMech now, everyone always looks at a Knight to add to it. A Knight is a perfect addition to any Imperium force, as it's just this big, beefy, powerful unit that can just put out so much damage and soak up so much damage as well. This middle Knight here, which I will pull up for people to see, has a special edition. Let's get that in. Has a Revenant head on the base, as Harry painted one of our friends' Revenants. He also got the head from the kit because there's multiple heads, and decided to put the head on his base. Why not, you know? Harry has fully magnetized the Knight, so he can do most combinations. Like, he can have the Gallant, which is the fist and sword one. He can switch out that melter cannon for the battle cannon, so he can have the Paladin. He could even fit in a couple of Crusaders. So you could do most combinations with the Knights. Played against the Knights or the Tyranids, I have to admit, they aren't as that hard of a cookie to crack. All honesty, they're definitely pretty good. It took me all game to kill 2 Knights, or just another one by like a third, and also deal with Cawl and 3 Dunecrawlers. But the fact that I'm actually able to kill a Knight now, if you look way back, there was a Tyranid versus Imperial Knight game, and I think I whittled them down to like low hold points, but didn't actually finish them off. So just knowing that I'm able to finish off 2 and maybe do damage to a third, or maybe even try and kill the third if dice were in my favour, is very uplifting to know that, you know, my army isn't useless against these powerhouses anymore. But those powerhouses aren't useless either. Tore through my army, the Knights did. I just turned into Yoda there, don't know why, because these might as well be part of the Jedi Order. With their swords, they are insane. With their gauntlets, they can pick you up and throw you across the room like some weird-ass Jedi. And if that doesn't work, they'll just pick up a trooper gun and just shoot you down dead. Have to admit, my favourite weapon is the Gatling gun. Really good. The battle cannon's really good. The melter cannon's really good. Everything about these is really good. It's no longer like 7th edition, everyone would go a chainsword because the fist is going last. Both are going at the same time now because of the way charge is. Everyone would go, the Gatling cannon's pretty good, the battle cannon's really good, but that melter cannon now was pretty damn awesome still. And then it's no longer just go with a 3-shot rocket pod on top. The giant blast one that used to be is still pretty good. Is now pretty good. The autocannon one's pretty good. Anyway, basically, GW said, how do you want to have your Knight laid out? Hold that thought, put a pin in it. We'll say that every way it can work. Will you take 3 in an army? Yes, if your army's going to be Imperial Knights, because such a 2,000, 3,000 point game, I don't see an Admech army taking more than maybe 2 knights. And when looking at the Forge World Knight rules, I don't imagine Harry will take these normal knights as often as he used to in 7th edition. Let's look at these Forge World Knights. So here we have the Cerastus Knights. Out of these 3, my favourite one has to be the Castigator. He has this huge sort of ammo pack on his back. I'll show you guys. Let me just pull this guy over here. He has this huge ammo pack on his back for his weapon. Let's try and focus this up, shall we? He has this huge ammo pack on his back. This is probably the most awesome thing that I'm holding right now. And when I was saying that I love the Gatling cannon, when he's got flipping 2 of them in his weapon is crazy. And then he's just got this huge sword. I like this better than the chain sword. I am starting to love the normal chain swords now more than the more than other power weapons. Like before, I was like all for power swords, but now I'm all for chain swords when building my Lamenters. And some of these other knights are pretty damn cool. I think this is probably everyone's favorite with the Lancer. I don't like the Lancer, mainly because everyone likes the Lancer. And I think it's just become too mainstream. It's like the 10th Doctor thing all over again. Everyone likes the 10th Doctor, so I just don't like the 10th Doctor. And then we've got this guy, I believe was Harry's favourite in 7th edition, which is the Archeon, which is the giant flamer one, which, because of the way the rules worked, is now the best anti-air option, in my opinion. The one we're missing, I don't know why these are Cerastus Knight, is the Atropus, which in my opinion I would call the Woodlouse, because his shell looks like he should curl up into a ball and roll around the field like some sort of Sonic the Hedgehog Mechanicum abomination that Cawl's been tinkering with. And then surprisingly, I didn't think any majority of 30k stuff made it through, but the 2 30k Mechanicum Knights have also in 40k as well. Harry does have them, but they're not painted up into this scheme, so we didn't put them out. So we'll start with the Castigator Knight. So all these knights have the same sort of rules in terms of they're a Knight Titan. So if they retreat, I believe they can still charge and shoot. They also have Blessed Autosimulacra. I have definitely pronounced that wrong, which is it will not die, so 5 up, they regain a wound. They have flank speeds. When they advance, they roll 2d6 to determine the maximum distance that they may move. And if they die on a 6, they explode 2d6 inches for d6 more wounds. A really powerful big explosion. It's like a Titanic explosion. But what's about the Castigator different from the rest? So he still has his Titanic feat, which is a common powerful use of a combat with the knights. It gives him this extra custom way of dealing with some of the armies. He has his Tempestus Warblade and his Castigator Bolt Cannon. The Bolt Cannon is 36-inch range, heavy 14, strength 6, -2, 2 damage. That's a Terminator killer, my friends. That's a lot of shots. I can see that almost, or maybe killing a monster per turn. Like, all he needs is 6 of those attacks to go through on a Exocrine, for example, and Exocrine's gone. So terrifying. And then his blade even lives up to that. His blade is +6 strength, so it becomes strength 14, -3, 5 damage. So it's 1 less damage than the chainsword. But if he rolls a 6 on any of the wounds against monsters or vehicles, it's an extra D3 mortal wounds. Now, when I'm thinking about it, he's got 4 attacks. So let's say those 4 attacks got through, and let's say those 4 attacks all wounded, and let's say those 4 attacks were not saved. That's 20 damage at the maximum that went through, which would leave a knight on 4 wounds left, for example. So those extra 6s that you might roll can help this guy take out a knight in one foul swoop. If anyone's seen the Dawn of War 3 trailer where the Wraith Knight just cut the center of a knight off in half, That's what I imagine this guy doing if he hits wounds and they fail the save and roll some sixes on those wounds as well. But like, for example, it also helps him to be a guaranteed killer of monsters and vehicles. So I definitely think this guy's a way to go in terms of which one you want to pick to kill. But considering that the Lancer is sort of, looks like he's all kitted out with a spear and a shield made for combat. He carries the same sort of rules as before. Also forgot that everyone's got ion shields, which is a 5-up invulnerable save. But the Lancers is different. So the Lancers gives him his 5-up invul, but it becomes a 4-up invul in the fight phase, which is pretty awesome. And in addition, enemy units with a Titanic keyword within 1 inches must subtract 1 from their hit rolls when directing their attacks against the Cerastus Knight Lancer to a minimum of 6+. Pretty cool. Basically means he can take on other knights and survive. So as the Castigator was there to really kill them in one foul swoop, this guy can spar with them better, which is, I would love to see a Knight Lancer spar with another knight. I would love to see a Knight Lancer spar with another Knight Lancer. That would be pretty interesting. But the Knight Lancer has his Shock Blast, which I believe comes from his lance, which is 18 inches, heavy 6, strength 6, minus 1d3 damage. It is very shadowed by that bolt cannon, but at least it's got an attack, which is pretty scary in itself. Then he's got his Shock Lance in combat, which makes him strength 14, just like the other knight, minus 4, so the Castigator was minus 3, and 6 damage rather than 5 damage. And you may reroll field hit rolls of this weapon if the Cerastus Knight Lancer has successfully charged in your combat phase. So what have we learned? We learned that the Lancer is better than the Castigator in combat. Duh. But not better in shooting. So if you want a good overall round Cerastus Knight, Castigator is probably the way forward. If you want one to tear them up in combat, go for the Lancer. But, like I said, I think the Archaon is the best one out of the 3. Why? Well, his Flamer automatically hits. It's 18 inches, heavy 2d6, strength 7, minus 2, 3 damage, and the weapon automatically hits its target, which means 2d6, strength 7, minus 2, 3 damage, automatically hitting a flyer. This seems a little bit crazy. He's really tall, so I sort of kind of think maybe he just is able to reach out of the sky just like Harry can. But we've seen a lot of things from tournaments with these heavy Storm Raven lists. Okay, so the camera just cut out there. But now we're talking about the Cerastus Knight Archaon's combat capabilities. Now, he is at minus 1 to hit with his weapon, so he's not as good at hitting his target as his brothers. But he's 2 times strength, so he is strength 16 compared to their strength 14. He's at minus 4, just like the Lancer, but not like the Castigator, who's at minus 3. He is doing 6 damage like the Lancer, so that's a little bit better as well. He's alright, he's powerful in combat like the Knights, but not as good as the Lancer. A little bit better than the Castigator, but the Castigator might get an edge with the 6 of D3 mortal wounds and better to hit. So out of the 3 Knights, my favourite's the Archaon in terms of, he's a good, reliable killer, because he can target flies very easily and other stuff very easily and can melt next to anything he touches. I do like the Castigator as well. Lancer's my least favourite. Doesn't have a really good shooting, alright in combat, so I'm guessing the Lancer's not a good one to go with. So out of all that, I can see Harry going down the lines of doing loads of Castellan robots with Cawl, Tech-Priest, Data Smith, some neutron lasers in there from the Onegas, maybe some destroyers in there, maybe some Rangers and Vanguard, some Dragoons, Ballistari, and then maybe a knight or 2 in there as well. And you're starting to build up the points, but you'll be switching out things I had. We looked over the rules for the Electro-priests because we don't actually have any models for them. I told them about the ones with the gauntlets, which have 15 shots, which have strength 5, I believe, and also Tesla. And not literally Tesla, but on 6s it's 3 hits. That's a lot of shots I can put out from a 5-man unit that costs 70 points. The staffs are 80 points, so they're 10 points more, but they can do a whole range of mortal wound shenanigans when it comes to combat. And this is why I think that the Ruststalkers are lacking, because the Ruststalkers, I don't believe, can put out the same amount of damage as the Electro-priest can. So the Electro-priest weapon makes them strength 5, -2 and d3 damage. So already they're an extra strength, they've got an AP, and the damage is not 1, it's d3. And then each time you make a 6 as a wound roll, the damage turns into d3 mortal wounds instead. Insane. They've got a 5-up invul, and they can pick a unit that they one unit that they charge into, and they roll a dice for each model in that unit. So if they charge into a unit of 30 boys or 30 bloodletters, for example, they roll 30 dice, and every 6 is a mortal wound. That's crazy, and it's a good horde killer. Now Harry's got the Castellan robots could deal with hordes, the Dunecrawlers that can deal with multiple wound creatures, and then if you go with the plasma on the destroyers, they can deal with multiple wound creatures. So you get these Electro-priests in, and they can deal with a horde reliably. But interesting thing is, if they kill a unit, they wipe out an entire unit in the fight phase. Their 5-up invul becomes a 3-up invul. That's crazy. Plus, they basically have a 5-up feel no pain. So if they suffer a wound, they roll a dice, and on a 5 or a 6, they ignore it. So that's pretty good. And for 80 points for 5, that's amazing. So definitely going to see some Electro-priests. But let's have a look at what else you'll be seeing from this army and from Harry. So here we have what's coming for the AdMech. Probably the most interesting thing to look at right now is that we've got 4 Castellan robots. 4 of them there. We've got a Day-Priest built. There's another one being built. This guy's Fossil Blasters broke off. He's still there. And then these 2 grey ones have the different heads from War Games exclusive. And we've also got the phosphors there. I think Harry's got some phosphors to turn the flamers into more phosphors for them. Pretty awesome. That'll be 6 Castellans there, just like we said. Getting 6 of them with the data smiths and having Cawl nearby is a great firebase. Here we've got 3 more destroyers, but we've got all the weapons to make them magnetize into breachers. But now we're looking at them probably going to be destroyers in the end. At the back we've got 7 sort of Ruststalker infiltrators. There's 3 infiltrators and 4 Ruststalkers there. I believe Harry's probably going to make 5 infiltrators and then the others into maybe more Ruststalkers for the Ruststalker unit. But a lot of the arms are like snapped off and things like that, so you have to repair them with spare parts. And then we've got a whole host of rangers here. We've got 3 arc and 2 transuronic arquebuses. We can make 1 full 10-man squad with the transuronic arquebus. We can even make another full 10-man squad of the arc rifles, maybe 2 5s. But we also got another box of sprues to make some more, about 10 more I believe. So there's a lot of rangers, a lot of Vanguard out there. We've got some 7 more Vanguard there with the 3 plasmas. So there's a whole host of what we could do. I think maybe getting 3 squads of 5 rangers with the rifle on them could be quite good. And then even doing that the same with the 2 squads of the Vanguard as well. And maybe doing a large squad of destroyers to fill out your brigade detachment. And then we've got 2 just over there. Some really nice looking models over there. We got ourselves 2 other Ballastaries with the autocannons. Harry doesn't believe he's got the las cannons for them, but considering we're probably going to use them as autocannons anyway, that's alright by us. And I think this is starting to shape to a very large AdMech force. And we've been discussing, and we feel like the next thing to add to them after this wave might actually be some Electro-priests, which would be pretty cool. I think Electro-priests look pretty awesome myself. I did see one person online go out and buy like 24 boxes of them or something like that, so you could have 12 squads of 10 dudes, which is crazy but awesome. Can't wait to see what could come from Electro-priests, especially since we didn't see them next to almost at all in the previous edition. It's nice to see they're wanted, because next to everything else had a place in the last edition, but the Electro-priests just didn't get any shine at all. So nice to see they're going to be getting that. What could we see in the future? Like I said, I want to see some gamma type weapons. I want to see some radiation type weapons. So maybe some kits get updated, or maybe they bring out some new models. I feel like they might add a couple of different guns into the Rangers on Vanguard, or maybe add a couple of guns onto the Destroyers and that. But I really would love to see, on like the Iron Strikers, for example, like those little green circle weapons from the second Star Wars film, Attack of the Clones. Maybe something like that for the kind of stuff. Honestly, they could go so many ways and put in so many units. I looked in, so we got a lot of elites and like with Electro-priests and and things like that. And we've got like loads of heavy support. We've got a variety of heavy support and other things like that. But I kind of think, because we've only got Castellan robots and Dunecrawlers heavy support, we could see like a single heavy robot, like a Castellan robot with like two arms combined to make one gun, like Megatron from the first film. That could be like the giant gamma gun or radiation gun. I would love to see that. But also in the decks, it would be nice. It would be common to see the relics, the stratagems, the warlord traits, and hopefully getting the knights with the role of Adeptus Mechanicus, because they don't have it right now, so they can't be healed. So there's a lot to look forward to in AdMech. I hope you enjoyed the showcase, and we're probably going to be doing some more showcases in the future of other armies like that. So if you want to see any more army showcases, leave a comment, and leave a comment about which army showcase you want to see next. So thanks for watching, guys. See you later.